Del Rey, and the bottom's a mess. You know, a lot of the bottom paint's rubbed off, and some blisters, and just been, you know, 7 years since it got hauled out. But it's and the boot stripe needs to be redone. And but the first thing I want to get my head around is if I need to replace one of these Seacocks. I think one of them I can definitely lap and grease, and it'll seal up again. But my port one, I'm not sure about. It was weeping a little bit more. I was able to get the weeping to stop by tightening up the tightening nut. But when I did that, I had to tighten it up so much that I couldn't operate the handle. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to take apart, or show you. I'm going to figure out how to take apart a Spartan Marine Seacock, traditional Seacock with a comb, and we're going to check it for pitting. And if it has excess pitting, I'll have to replace the entire Seacock. And I ordered one. I got one on standby here on the boat in case I need to do that. It's going to be a pain in the ass to extract this thing. I hope I don't have to do it. So I'd like to be able to return the Seacock and get my $560 back. So we'll see, but here it goes. So these Seacocks, they service the cockpit drains here. You can see this is a companionway, and they're right below here. So the trouble one is the one that's worse is this one over here, and you can see some corrosion, some external corrosion. It's probably mostly from the seawater kind of dribbling out through it. A service kit included this wrench from Spartan. So there's two nuts on the back here. You can see right there. You might be able to see it better here on the port one. So I'm gonna loosen that up, and I think that's all I have to do. Here's the second nut. I think there's a big washer on the back side of that. I'm gonna get a chisel in there and just give it a little tap. This one's a little tired, but it's just something to get in there and kind of wedge underneath stuff. Oh yeah, that did it. Big old washer. And here it is. This guy was kind of on the up position. There we go. Oh, that did the trick. Showing it to you first. It looks like it's in good shape. Just trying to look through the camera here. Maybe I can get the focus a little bit better. I think that's in good shape. I think if I just clean that up and lap it a little bit, and then put some fresh grease in it, I think it'll be good to go. It looks pretty good. I'll have to look at it on my iPad to get in there close. I also need to replace these hoses. One has been wrapped in butyl tape, and one hasn't. And you can see there's some cracking going on there. Oh, I don't know. I take that back. No, there's some serious pitting on this thing. Yeah, oh, that's a bummer. Means the other one might be no good too. And unfortunately, you can't just swap the cone out. Some serious corrosion in there. You see that? Yeah, there's not. That's just that's no good. This is how the new one looks. So you can see this corrosion just gotten too bad. You can see the kind of halo of where the Seacock closes off, and looks like it's okay on this side, but it's creeping into the close off there. I guess if I were in a jam, I could fill this with epoxy and you know, kind of make it work. But since I got the replacement part, I think it makes sense to just to put a new one in. And now I'm gonna take the port one apart, and hopefully the corrosion isn't as bad. I feel like something hot in the water or something. I don't know. Or maybe this is just what happens when you don't service your Seacocks for 7 years. It's just a lesson. You gotta grease them and move them, I guess. I don't know. All right, going in for Seacock number 2. Man, I hope this one's not in bad shape. All right, I got that cracked off. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't look quite as bad. This is the port. So this is port, this is starboard. This is the one I just took off. Oof. It's pretty bad. To clean that up, but you have to hit this with a wire brush and degunk it to really get a good look at it. It's a shame that the cones are matched to the body. They're not, it'd just be so much easier just to replace a cone. Looks like both of these Seacocks are pretty much shot. So now I need to figure out how much of a pain in the ass it is to get one out. And if I need the mushroom for both the outer piece. I have one of them. Need to verify the barb on these. The one awesome thing about Spartan Marine is they really know the boats that their hardware is on, and some boats they do oddball things. On this boat they put in 1/2-inch Seacocks, but they use 5/8-inch barbs, I think. Persuasion here at the bottom. All right, there we go. Voila, the perfect match. So now I've got to take off these two screws. I don't have a deep socket on the boat. This ought to do the trick. I'm gonna hit those threads with a little bit of glass thread. It's called the original Rust Eater. I'm gonna try this out. It's a contender to be in the onboard kit I'm building. That was a fun exercise. Got both through holes cut out, and so now I'm getting ready to pull out the port. It's already pushed in a little bit here. So there it is. I tried making the tool for it to spin it out, but that 5200 is just, forget about it. I mean, if you got to work on these Seacocks, if you got to take them apart, you got to cut them out if they're put in with 5200. It was once I figured out how to do it, it was pretty painless. I probably threw my arm out trying to pry the thing off prior to this. I just recommend cutting it out and not even wasting the time trying to mechanically take it apart. So now I'm gonna go over here. I brought my these deep sockets with me, so it should be a little bit easier to get that Seacock off, but I've got to take the hose off first. All right, I'm back inside the boat here. I'm going to do a dry fit. I'm gonna run down below and screw the through hole in, and I'm gonna measure with my micrometer how much thread I have to take off in order to, you know, properly bed it. On the other one, I had to open up these mounting holes a little bit to get the valve centered with the hole. There's a little bit of variation because those are machined afterwards, I think, after the piece is cast. Let's give it a quick look and just see how well this is centered. It looks like it could come a little bit that way. But I'll see if it threads easily. Here's the new through hole. It's just a beautiful piece, and they're not cheap. The last 35 more years, that's fine. I'll try to zoom it in here. I just want to make sure it's kind of an equally centered in that hole. And it does look. Just want to make sure there's, you know, there's a good amount of caulk all the way around, and that the threads aren't going to be right up against the fiberglass. I'm going to screw this all the way in, and then I'll measure with my micrometer what that distance is, and that's how much I'm going to take off from these threads from the end, so that this will sit flush. So I'm going to measure this, and then I'll add a little bit so that I can clamp down tight. This is a really nice tool, these micrometers. They used to be expensive, and you don't need like a machinist grade one. You know, this might be 25 or 30 bucks, but it lets you know to the thousandths of an inch, you know, what the size of something it is. It's good for measuring bolts and screws, and it's one of those things that kind of pays for itself in eliminating frustration. So you can measure it with that end piece, or you can measure using this end of the dial. It's more convenient to measure this end. It looks like we need to take off about 1.5 inches. All right, so I'm going to set my micrometer 1.5. I'm going to get a piece of tape, tack it on there, and then measure. When I'm marking stuff like this, I always have the tape on the part that I want to keep, because I want to try to protect those threads. And so I always know, like, I'm cutting on this side. It's called Tack Life. This is a pretty good unit. Cutting tool. And I bought one of these kits. These come in handy. So you just hold on to that button, and it's in there solid. The speed controller here. So I'm going to put a grinding bit, and I'm just going to clean up all the edges here and just kind of round off the top. Here's a little tool I created. I just happen to have some 2-inch stock bronze in the shop at work, and so they make stock tools like that you can buy. Oof. Maybe I didn't take enough off. I didn't take enough off the first time, so I had to actually go and take another 20.2 inches off of this. I think that the Seacock up above there wasn't seated properly, so You definitely want to be able to get this in there and get it all the way down before you install it. Once you put a little bit of sealant in there, it'll add some dimension. It's much better. Hopefully I'll never have to use this tool again. At least not on this boat. That's in there snug. I'm gonna go and take my X-Acto and I'm gonna chisel away the bottom paint now so that I can get good adhesion with this. The edge of this as a guide, and then cut just a little bit wider. This doesn't need to be made out of bronze. It can be made out of aluminum. It'd be a lot easier to cut. I've gotten this kind of chiseled off. Now I'm going to take my take the Dremel with the wire brush attachment and clean up the rest of it. This is acetone. I'm going to give this a good cleanup with some acetone, both surfaces. Side the hole there really good. Let's do one more dry fit. Oh, I forgot the mask. Right, so I got a nice layer on here. Nice layer on the backing plate there. Actually, I'm gonna load up the base of those screws just a little bit more so that the recess fills in the flange, so that no water or anything can kind of sit in there. I got the base of this mast, so it'll be a much easier cleanup. I'm not going to put these nuts on here in washers until after I put the through hole in down below. So I want to make sure that this gets properly centered. So I'm going to work some sealant in here. Again, I'm forgetting to mask. It has a consistency of cream cheese. Does not smell as good as cream cheese though. I want to hit this again, just working it into that groove. Actually, all right, now I got it masked up properly. Let's see what else I forgot. All right, I think that ought to do it. Actually, I think I could do a little bit more. I think I overdid it a little bit, but it's better than not having enough. I'm going to snug that up a little bit more. All right, it's in. Now I'm just gonna go up top. I'm gonna go up top and put the nuts on the bolts. So I got good squeeze all the way around. Only use acetone for cleaning up this 4200 alcohol will prevent the 4200 from hardening. Now we got our washers. And our bronze lock nuts. when I tighten things up, I kind of like to do it at the same time, so I don't crank down on this that hard until I've got some pressure on this one, and I'll kind of go back and forth. It's just a habit that I've picked up from other people over the years. All right, that one's a little bit snug. Now I'll come back over here, snug this one up. And I'm not going to really crank down on them now. I'll do that later. I'm sure it's plenty watertight right now, but just in case that sealant dries and shrinks a little bit, so, just before I launch the boat, I'll crank down on them a little harder. Now it's time to put the hose on. Hose number 2. Nice and easy. Not so easy. So now hose clamp time. All right, I got my handle and I got some light. So I got the lock nut off. I got the backing nut off. The washer. This one looks like it's already been lubed up. There's a nice light coat of grease on it. I'm just gonna put a little bit more. A little minor drama. I over tightened the Seacock the first time on the port side, and it was seized up. So I had to take it apart, and eventually I got it separated. But I'm thinking, it doesn't say in the instructions how much grease to put on here, but I'm gonna really load these things up. I was going with a light approach, but I'm kind of thinking like a heavy approach. It just feels like metal on metal a little bit too much. So we're gonna really goop these things up. It doesn't kind of have like a hydraulic, like a smooth, easy feeling. Maybe that's just because they're new and they have to break in. I don't know. I kind of don't think so, because they're pretty precisely machined. There's not like rough edges on these things or anything. I wish they told you in the instructions that say you're supposed to do it light or heavy. Well, I'm just gonna do this up like a cupcake. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it in there and kind of work it back and forth. See, that's kind of what the feeling I think I should be going for. All right. Now I'm gonna put this washer on with the end pointing towards me. I just had a thought. There's like kind of a little bit of a void in the back of the Seacock over here. I kind of think that I should pack that with grease. It's kind of running downhill, so maybe over time it'll kind of replenish the grease. It's got gravity kind of pulling in that direction. Right. Top of that washer is aligned, I think. That feels better. Yeah, that feels a lot more natural. I'm going to kind of spread the grease around, and I can wipe out the ooze. Make it tight enough so that if you have engine vibration, the handle won't move on its own. So I think that'll do it. Yeah. All right, so now I'm going to take the other one apart and re-goop it. There we go. That feels good. That feels good. Winter chicken dinner. I think I got 2 more paper towels, so that means it's time to quit. 2 Seacocks in. Should be, I don't want jinx myself. Let's see if they hold water. Good night.